Good evening everyone and welcome from Adventure Dolphin. My name's Dom and we're joined here today with Giles. How you doing, man?
Good, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It's been a while since you've been on, it's quite good. We've seen you've started on the old facial hair.
Lockdown, mate, lockdown. That's what it's about.
Okay. You've been out on the water much?
Yeah, like a couple of times a week. Got to keep paddling, keep fresh. Practice skills. You know how it is.
For you guys that can't see what's in the back screen, we've got the back end crew are just literally putting poor faces at Giles. And poor Giles isn't used to looking right at camera.
I don't look at the camera. It's like it's not there.
Fair enough, mate.
That's how it works.
So one thing you have got is that the microphone does pick up the whole room, including the movement. Anyway, so the reason we've got Giles in today is he is
We've lost the camera. Camera down.
We've got a camera down.
We've lost the camera.
What app is it?
Yeah, Kanoe.
Oh, I did that last time.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
We've just been told there is a camera issue. We're back again. See, absolutely brilliant. The reason we've got Giles in today, as I was saying, is that he is one of our canoeing instructors at the centre, and he actually did his gold canoeing, didn't you?
Many years ago.
Many years. Where did you go on your expedition?
We did the River Wye and the River Severn. But last year, supervising, we took a group out to France to paddle their gold expedition.
Okay, so we have been doing international expeditions. How did you find the as the supervisor?
Really easy to supervise them. They're really on it with their planning, and they planned everything. So it made it a lot easier for us. So yeah, it was all in all a good expedition, good trip.
Is there any good stories about the trip on the? Anything really funny or memorable from it?
There's so much. I don't think I could name a single one. In fact, there's just so many. So I think we don't have enough time to talk about the international trip. So I'll leave it there.
Fair enough. So that was for gold. One of the things, because you've been involved with the centre a few years now.
Yeah, you could say that.
More
relic now.
You're turning into a senior leader. We're not entirely sure what you're senior at, but you're turning into a senior leader. So, where you come down to canoeing, what was the upside for you on the canoeing?
For being the participant, it's quite nice to not have to carry anything as such. So, whereas if you do a walking expedition, you've got to carry all your kit and you're very limited on what you can take. When you go paddling, you still need to try and make sure you don't pack too much, but it's not so much of a big deal because it's in the boat rather than on your shoulders.
Okay.
But you will have to portage, so don't overpack because otherwise it's a lot to carry.
Yes, I can guarantee you on that, because I joined you guys 1 year and I had to end up portaging, I think we portaged the furthest lock, which was great, having to go over a bridge trying to not hit people. So, it's alright, everyone's just now looking out the door. Have we got noises going on?
I've got the downstairs door open.
Okay, fair enough. We'll send security. If any of you are here, if you like any questions about kayaking on the canoeing expeditions or even the walking expeditions, just leave it in the chat. I'm on a different side to my normal. It's that side today, isn't it? It's still here. It's still here. It's because I'm not used to
the same side. It's just closer to you.
To me. I'm used to going over someone. That's why.
Yeah.
But okay. So yeah, if you put your comments on the chat, and we can try and answer you back. So of course you have the. How much distance-wise do you know? How fast can you paddle in a canoe?
So you've got to base it on the water. Probably goes on average about 3k an hour.
So it's only 3k an hour if you're.
But that's the water. That's not with paddling as well. So then, as soon as you add that in, obviously, within theory, you should paddle a further distance to compared to what if you were to walk it. But yeah, for gold, it's obviously a bit further. We aim to be out quite a lot of the day. So one of our paddles was 47k in one day.
47, nice.
So yeah.
Is that the one that you paddled on? Is it?
Yep.
And that was Wye Valley.
That was the River Severn, I think.
Oh, the River Severn. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go on to, of course, the whole idea is progression, and it gets harder. So with walking the campsites at least, even with your canoeing, you should be in what's known as wild country. So that progression from the silver paddling to a gold paddling, is there any introduction? Is it more difficult than paddling technique?
Well, like paddling, so the grade of water that you paddle is slightly different. So it's a lot more moving water, a lot faster. And when I did it, it was anyway.
There's no water left in the upstream.
No. But we didn't always use a campsite or anything like that. So on our gold, we spoke to a farmer and we were using a farmer's field, and we negotiated that. And then we had to go meet his family because we were doing our DofE. So he got us all to stand in his house and chat to his family, say hello and talk about our DofE and everything. It's a bit weird.
I was going to say, that's a little bit different to normal. I don't
Yeah.
normally end up in any
He's a
time
lovely
I
guy, and because of the weather, he was like, "Oh, if you really wanted, you can stay in his barn that he had." So that's
very
pretty
nice.
cool. But yeah, it was different to an actual campsite.
Nice. Okay, so you had that. Is there any equipment? No, not that. Let's go to skills. Basically, to get, obviously, you can't just put anyone in a boat and then go paddle.
No.
They need to have a level of competency. Is there anything rough competency or what it used to be or levels they should be at?
So going back to the old British canoeing levels, they always said for silver you needed to have 2-star or paddle to that ability. So by that it means that you have to be able to control a boat, rescue a boat, and you don't have to be the best paddler in the world, because hopefully some of your team can actually paddle, and then that way they can compensate. But you should all be able to know how to paddle and do rescues and manoeuvres, and be competent with that.
Okay, that's awesome. So, of course, you have that base level of you've got to be able to control your craft, if you like. What happens when you go up to guard? Because, of course, that's going on to moving. That's got to be slightly more
It does depend where you're going to do your guard. So the international trip last year when we went to France to paddle the Dordogne, that's not necessarily, that wasn't moving water what we were using. There was bits that flowed, but there wasn't like fast rapids or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's completely out of some people's comfort zone because it was a different country, different languages, and all that kind of stuff. But when I did it, they wanted you to be at the 3-star level, because you had to wear a helmet, and because of the rapids that we were paddling down and things like that.
Of course, you don't want to have a nice conk on the head if you fall out your boat.
No, and on our training day we saw some people kayaking on the rapids, and then she came up with a blooded nose from where she'd smashed her face on a rock. So some people, they were rather scared when we actually had to paddle that for the expedition, but it's all good fun.
Sounds decent. You guys didn't get injured doing it, did you?
No, not at all.
No, that's alright then. So, did you guys get to do it? As you said, you got to do some rapid sections, at least in your practice, didn't you?
Yeah, so we had training days, which were on rapids, and then on the expedition we also had to go through a rapid section. We didn't skip that bit out, which was good fun.
We do also have another resident paddler in the room who's given us a few keys with his miming, and we're having to learn sign language. So if you ever see any of us looking that way, it's because he's making hand gestures and we're trying to understand what that means in English. He's doing it again.
DofE.
If you guys are related to the centre, have been here for ages at the centre, put a name down if you realised who that voice was, because that would have been picked up by the microphone. So, okay, so you've done that. Silvers, though, because that's where it starts coming, because we don't really advise for bronze at the moment, because between the bronze and the silver, it's a great time on that year, if you like, to learn the skills to paddle, so you can get to that 2-star, as you said.
Well, yeah, it means they have a chance to learn them skills, and it's not all rushed. But also, bronze is a good opportunity to get your navigation up, and know how to read a map and everything. So silver, it makes it a lot easier, because what you could find is that because you haven't got so many landmarks to navigate off of, you could overshoot the campsite, and you won't notice for a few K, and then you've got to try and get back, obviously, because if you don't notice the campsite's there and you paddle past it, then it could lead to you being late back in, and the supervisors then get a bit worried.
And you also look like a bit of a wally, especially if you're saying how great of a paddler you are.
Exactly, if you're a renowned paddler, it happens.
I think he figured out who we were talking about.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But yeah, I think it's a good bronze is a good chance to get navigation in place, and then silver is a good opportunity to try see whether or not you like paddling, And if you do, you can do it for gold. If not, then you go back to walking. It's not an issue, but it does give you. It does. It's a different experience. I personally would recommend it because I had a great time paddling. Some good memories as well.
See, I personally say walking, but hey,
It depends what you're better at.
I'm a hiker. I've always been more of the hiking than the paddling. But
You're also better at navigating.
when it comes down to the navigation, thank you. That's one of the skills that people kind of forget because they go, I'm on a riverway, as you said, and
Yeah.
they overshoot. Obviously, from an emergency point of view, they still need to be able to navigate because if there's an incident, you need to go out to a road. So you still have to have that knowledge there. So it is important that they keep on top of that, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think actually planning the expeditions as well and doing like route cards, it's very different in the sense of you have to think about escape routes. So if something was to go wrong, how would you get back to a road? How would you get the emergency services to you if there was an issue and someone was injured? Whereas you don't really have to think about that too much when you're planning your bronze expedition. You can just call them up and tell them where you are because you're not as far away. So access is a lot easier. Makes it a lot easier for them to get you. Whereas with paddling, you have to think about things differently.
Yeah. So we'll have to show him the tech because he's starting to get a bit fidgety. We'll show you afterwards, alright? Behave. So, of course,
I'm going to take Joel's seat at this rate.
if you want to come on in a little bit and talk about your experience paddling, you're more than welcome to if you want.
Maybe later.
Okay, we'll go through Giles.
So we get Charlie in chat.
We'll get you in chat. So what's one of those things that that you found the difficult? Well, if you could say one thing you found the most difficult.
So because the river was flowing as fast as it was on our practice, we didn't actually have to like physically paddle. It was more about controlling where the boat was.
Yeah.
So timing wise became a bit of an issue because we had to paddle backwards to make sure we didn't get to checkpoints too early. But other than that, I didn't really find anything that difficult.
Did you fall in?
No, on the training day, did. Yeah, training day was rather interesting. I had a chance to stop falling in, but my mind was like, you need to do a high brace. And my body was like, no. And we just slowly, in slow motion, capsized. So yeah, it was good fun.
Friend.
Is there anything that you need? So when you go walking, your main thing is your walking boots for walking. Obviously, that's like your main piece of equipment, and then you have your rucksack. Is there anything equipment-wise that is decent that you would advise if they could look at buying? Might be advisable to look into.
It depends how much paddling they're going to do. So obviously there's an expense of the boats, the paddles, buoyancy aids, things like that. And you can get stuff from the centre like buoyancy aids, helmets. But if you want a nice one, it's better to look into it yourself. But obviously, if you're only going to use it once or twice, is it really worth having something? Because helmets can be quite expensive.
Also depends on the weather and temperature of when you're going.
Yeah, of course, because that was something I was just about to relate to. I think someone's on my wavelength, which is really scary. Because for me personally, I have a thing with my fingers getting cold, so quite often I have to put something on, like gloves on. So for me personally, doing something like that would be worth having gloves. I have to remind someone that this is a very sensitive microphone, it will pick it up from here.
I know.
Cool.
Just letting the world know.
Yeah. This is why we don't let you in. It's for some safety reasons. So you've got that. What did you? You haven't done a walk. Have you done a walking expedition? You've done a bit of trekking, not outside of DofE, haven't you?
Yeah. So outside, I didn't do bronze or silver. I went straight in at gold.
Mm-hmm.
Go big or go home. And I did paddling for that, but then obviously I started getting into supervising and coaching working in the outdoor industry myself.
Yeah.
So then that meant that I had to do the trekking and the walking. So I did essentially a bronze DofE, but I was assisting a SEND child, so someone with special needs.
Oh, nice.
So I assisted them. So I was walking with them for the whole journey, not as a supervisor, but just to, as like a carer and
assistant
stuff.
type thing. That's pretty
So
good.
I have experienced it. I know the pains that everyone goes through, but
Because outside work or DofE, you've gone trekking in. Did you do? Is it Ben Nevis you did?
yes, last August.
Last August. No. How did you find that? Because of course that is a bit of a.
Yeah, it's a big change from walking around Berkshire, and it was absolutely fine. Quite enjoyed it. It got a bit wet when it started raining, but it was.
What do you prefer then, personally? If you could do it again and they said it's your expedition, what level would you want to go walking, or would you take the canoeing?
I'd go paddling.
You go paddling.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This is the problem I asked a paddler on. I knew what the answer would be.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised actually.
Like walking expeditions are good, and I wouldn't say no to a nice walk, but paddling.
Fair enough. It's each to their own. I know there's a few that have gone and done silver paddling, and then for guard, as you said, decided what, paddling's not for me on that, and then go back to walking. So yeah, is there anything that, from a safety point of view, you think that kids need to know out there, or a tip you could give them so they could be ready, or be that packing something? I know one of the big tips is if you can get a day sack and your main bag, that helps, because then you don't have to keep opening your bag and potentially getting your clothes wet. Your main dry bag.
Just I would with the dry bags, you get a big kind of like a rucksack that you would normally carry, but inside that I'd have everything else dry bagged up as well. So if there was something to go wrong, 5 times as much.
Yeah.
Your food's in a different bag, your clothes are in a different bag, so then that way you've got dry bags inside of a dry bag just in case there was an issue, and you capsized and your bag was open at the time, then all your things don't get soaked through or ruined. So.
And don't forget to clip your dry bag to the boat.
And that too.
Yeah, or at least tail it to the boat. So
just
out,
attach it to the boat, so if the boat turns over it doesn't go anywhere or sink.
And it helps you rescue the boat.
This is very true if you can get it stuck in there properly and wedge it. What would you say for gold? Because of course you haven't. I've been on an international walking expedition for my gold. I've also been assisting in the UK with gold expeditions. You for walking. You on the other hand went on a UK gold expedition for your gold, but then you've assisted gold expeditions abroad for paddling. Because it's gold, it is a big task, it is a big challenge. What would you say? Is it worth going out doing if you can, doing the international, like as you say the Dordogne you guys did? I know there's Allier. I'm trying to think of in France. Ardèche. The Durance. That's just in France alone. You've got other countries you can explore. I know in year 2000, the Project 2000, or was it 2000? The Project 2000 happened here or something. I can't remember. I wasn't about then. I would have been goodness knows, at school. But they did Canada.
I was 3.
You were 3 exactly, but they went to somewhere like Canada. So if there is that opportunity for them to do something like Canada or France or something like that, what would you say? Is it better to go for it and go all out?
If you've got a group that are dedicated to do it, then it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I was lucky to go with and supervise for the group that went out to France, and they asked me to come along, and I was very, very glad about that because it was a really lovely time. So it's definitely worth it.
You were sending me photographs of the nice warm sea.
Yeah, and it was when we had a heat wave as well, so it's like 40 degrees, which, to be fair, at some points was too hot, but at the same time, you're on the water, so if you are too hot, you just go for a quick swim, go for a quick dip,
Yeah.
cool off.
Cool yourself off. So you say if you can definitely go for that. If you can get the
Yeah,
experience, go for something like
it's-
international.
It is something that your DofE should be something that you remember, so you might as well make it as memorable as possible. And how many people can say that they've gone abroad to do a canoeing expedition or a walking expedition for that matter?
This is very true. One of the questions that could happen is, does it have to be a canoe? Do you have to only go in a canoe?
No, you don't have to. We've had people take out like sea kayaks and things like that, but obviously you shouldn't take a playboat out. You can't fit your stuff in it.
You sink it if you put
and
gear
it's
in that.
and you've got to think you've got to carry all your stuff with you.
It's alright. We've got Kevin just on the chat. That's why I'm just quickly checking it.
He's saying I'm talking.
No, he's just saying thank you for talking about paddling, and then he's going through different areas that you can go. So Scotland for one.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily. You don't have to go out of the UK to achieve what would feel like an international expedition, but there's so many different places you could do it. Like Scotland and things like that.
I can't even pronounce that.
What?
Pembrokeshire? Is it
Yeah.
Pembrokeshire? Pembrokeshire. Yeah. Is that the Jurassic coast, Kevin?
That's not
No. Ottawa Valley would be a good one though during the summer.
Because I know Kevin likes talking about the Jurassic coast sometimes. That's down Dorset. Okay.
Yeah,
But-
but Zambezi.
The thing is that you are open even in this country. I know at the moment we've got the effects of lockdown, and it's going to take a while before we can open up again to doing those sort of things, because of course we got to put the training in and the time and get everything and the practices in. But
Yeah.
as you said, you can get a decent experience here in the UK. There's loads of areas.
Well, yeah, exactly. I've got no regrets over mine doing it on the 7 or the Y. It was good fun, and there was 2 routes that were out at the same time, and it was quite nice to have the second group there, and we were kind of like leapfrogging each other.
Competitive nature.
Yeah, it's kind of in a way a mini race. So it was good fun. Other than their attempt to cook a pizza on a Trangia,
Oh,
it turned more into cement rather than pizza.
don't try it, you'll never know.
Do you want to come on?
Go on then.
Go on then. If we switch it, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on,
guys.
Giles. Right, guys. As a treat, he's going to behave himself. Remember, behave
Yes,
yourself.
I know.
We actually have Charlie in today. Charlie's been with the centre. Oh gosh, blimey, since you could walk pretty much nearly.
13 years.
13 years. Oh blimey. Of course, didn't you do gold same time as?
I did the gold same time, but unlike Giles, I did bronze and silver the 2 years before
Yes,
as
you
well.
did, didn't you? Because
I had 3 years straight. I had bronze first, then silver, and then gold.
Because you walked your bronze. Because I remember that was my first year supervising here.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I made it healthy.
Yeah, you were just yourself. It was amazing.
Never
And then,
changed.
what did you do for your silver?
I paddled,
Yeah.
but we went down the Thames first for the practice, and it was just coming off flood,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly. And then it rained over the night, and then it carried on staying in flood. And there was, do we stop, do we carry on? But we had a good set of leaders, and they thought I was crazy enough to do it. So yeah, we just carried on down.
Oh, very nice.
Carried on down, and then yeah, I actually did the silver expedition itself with a fractured collarbone still healing, so that was fun.
Is that more because you were just mad? Kevin says hello, by the way, and he can't believe you've been here for 13 years.
I know, 13 years. What has it done to me?
Made you a decent paddler and
Yeah.
given you that foundation. It looks like.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was also coaching here at the time, because I've now got my level 2 coach, and I had my level 1 coach, so I was helping out at the centre here,
Mhm.
because I've been here since Taste of Adventure back in the day, and basically I was coaching, and at the same time I was trying to progress my personal kayaking, and I tried something that I probably wasn't ready for, and yeah, fractured my collarbone, had to paddle back up. Still did a week's work afterwards until they told me, you know what,
You
don't
shouldn't
come
be
in.
doing it, yeah.
Yep. But then they said for DofE you need the all clear. So I went into the doctors a week before and said, can I have the all clear? He went, I went, look, I can do this now, which I couldn't do before. I could get my arms about there, but yeah. And
Was it worth it then? Because you must have been a bit of discomfort with it, obviously.
I didn't sleep one of the nights, but I had such a good. If you pick your groups right and have such a good group of mates, then it makes it a lot easier. So they sort of see, because of course, I'm a bloke, so I'm going to be stubborn and say, no, I'm fine, like try not to look embarrassed. But if you just go with the right group of mates, or whoever groups you do make, because I still talk to the people from DofE who I met, you figure they sort of sense like, all right, he's definitely in pain.
Yeah.
So, tell you what, Charlie, you sit in the front of the boat for a bit and just relax for a second. You navigate for a second, and we'll paddle you.
That's good. So you went for that. Because I also know that you then became a supervisor with the DofE.
Yep.
I know that for a fact because
I
me
helped
and you
you.
did a trip.
Yeah, we did multiple trips.
We've done walking trips together as leaders, and then one of them we ended up in an emergency survival bag to
Prove a point.
to show the students how it's done, of how you can have 2 people in the survival bag. If you want a good night's sleep, I don't advise it.
Especially with 2 quite big people.
Yes, exactly. That was a bit of a cosy night. But then
We made it through.
we did, and then we then went out, and we've also done a silver paddling trip as leaders, where we went out, and it was around the River Thames we went.
Yes, it was. If I remember right, it's from just above Hurley all the way to just below Windsor.
Yeah, we did. That was it, because it was Eton boat race, which was
Fun times.
the Eton regatta that was going on at the time. Yeah, that was always fun.
Trying to navigate through Windsor.
We did have a good laugh. So
Paddled every day just to prove, because all the participants will complain, because when you're walking you actually do less distance, but you have to navigate a lot more. But when it comes to paddling, you have to paddle almost double. So if, let's say, you're walking 15k, you're paddling 30k. So all the participants were saying, oh, it's such a long distance, so tiring. So we decided to prove a point and say, even though we're old, we're still going to be able to get the entire thing done.
yeah.
And I was taking my personal boat with me and doing some evening paddling sessions while I wasn't on call. So
Yeah, no,
I did
remember
even
that,
more.
yeah. You went back out on the water in the evenings and then gave everyone a show, because this is the thing. Because would you say, especially like DofE, that helped set you up a little bit, especially because you've gone on more in your paddling career only too lately, I would say. You've been in competitions.
yeah, so I've competed with what people would say the world's best kayakers in the discipline which I do, which is white water. So I'm going off waterfalls, running big rapids, because why not? And play boating, which is basically, look at me, I can do this in a play boat. I can do a front flip in a boat. You can't laddie that up for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
This is what I can do in a boat. And yeah.
So
yeah, and the stuff I actually learned on some of the strokes that I did learn, building up to be able to paddle on my DofE, actually I still use today, even on higher grade water.
that's good. So the DofE's helped you in that discipline.
Yeah.
But then of course, because although I know you were pretty much born in water nearly, we do joke about it, you have come through the centre, come through the ranks. I remember we used to have a youth competition group, and there was about several of you, Giles and yourself, or 2 of them, that were pretty good. We won every year, the competition.
Hard work and commitment. It wasn't easy.
But do you reckon that, so going through the centre, learning those different disciplines, although we here don't do as much of the white water, learning how to do the tricks and the flicks in the play boating, do you reckon that coming through learning your basics here has helped you get that stage in the progression?
I'd say if you want to get better on the water in general, whether it be your marathon paddling, your white water paddling, your canoeing, your supboarding, it's good to try everything.
Yeah.
Like, people, if they know me, they know that I'm not a big lover of marathon paddling. But I used to do actually quite a lot of marathon paddling, considering, because you did
manage to solo rescue yourself in a marathon
Yeah.
in a lightning. I remember. It
Yeah,
was a lightning.
mid-competition.
Yeah,
That
mid
was the-
competition.
Well, that was.
That was down by Caversham.
Yeah.
in Reading. Yeah, Reading.
God, that is a long time ago. That is a long time ago.
Yeah, because two of you fell in and you rescued yourself and you got told off for rescuing yourself. I remember that quite well.
That's because I still had water in the boat and I was nosediving this carbon fibre 2 grand's worth of boat.
Yeah, it was a bit insane.
But yeah, if you're going to want to progress your paddling, the best thing to do is do every single discipline you can and try every type of boat, type of paddle, and meet as many different people.
Yeah.
Like if you're, let's say, you get so good that you're like the big fish in your pond, go to another pond and meet even better people and compete against them, because then you learn from them. And you know, I actually met the world champion of freestyle last year.
Nice.
And I've actually said to him, hey, do you want to come to England and paddle this feature with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we spent a weekend paddling it. And that's all just because...
You put yourself out there and then see
Yeah.
what you sow type thing. That's brilliant. I like it.
Sell yourself. From
Sow yourself. That's one way of looking at it. So, going back to DofE, especially because, of course, this is the DofE
Of course.
podcast. What if you could give one piece of advice to them out there about, especially where it came down to the canoeing and kayaking your canoeing expeditions? If there was something either you could change or something you did that, you know, helped you massively, what would that one bit of advice you could give them?
Preparation. I will admit, my paperwork when it came to it was the most god-awful paperwork you could ever, like, countless nights it was, we'd stay on a bit longer because we've just completely destroyed our paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So our route planning was wrong. We used to actually put the numbers in the wrong order. So, and they'd be like, "Why did you do it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, we weren't thinking." It's like, "Well, you're an idiot. Go and do it again."
Right.
So pre-planning, and as they were talking about kit earlier, if you go into a place where the water's definitely cold, definitely going to be raining, and middle of winter, recommend a dry suit.
If you
You're
can
going to
afford one, yeah.
Yep, they're getting more and more affordable nowadays. There's ones for you can get a second-hand one as long as the seals are somewhat tight. Lifesaver. You'll get called an idiot in a balloon because it blows up all the time, but warmest thing you'll ever have.
That's decent. Nice. So, is there one thing that you could say during your DofE career, when you were doing your DofE yourself? What was the biggest, the one mistake you made, or the one, is there any regrets you had, like you could wish you could change?
It's going to sound really big-headed, but I feel like I made it too easy for myself.
Okay, so you didn't push yourself.
I feel like I didn't push myself hard enough. Like, don't get me wrong, DofE in general is actually a lot harder than you think. It's like everything when it comes to videos. Just because it looks easy on the video doesn't mean it is easy.
Yeah.
Trust me on that one. And but yeah, I'm, as you can probably tell, naturally a paddler, and I did paddling on the silver and the gold, which now I look back at it, I kind of regret because
You didn't
I didn't push myself. So when it came to navigation, it is follow the water, but I still overshot certain objectives. I didn't see certain landmarks, and half the time I was like, wait, am I here or am I here? So I feel like I wish I did actually do some of the walking because it would have worked on my navigation, and I would have learnt that a lot quicker for when it came for me to assessing DofE.
Yeah, oh, that's good. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Charlie.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm trying to think. One of the things before we do go is, of course, because of the lockdown and COVID, currently the centre isn't open for participants and members. It's a certain leaders going on. This is being reviewed all the time. I know the DofE have been saying there are possibilities. We are looking at it, however, we want to weigh up what can be done and also making it an experience for everyone. So we're reviewing it all the time. There's a regular review about if we can open centre, is it worth it, etc. So please bear with us. I know we really wish that we had the bronzes, and they would have pretty much been done about this time now, wouldn't they, guys? Yeah.
About now, yeah.
And then the silvers would be like finishing up. So we don't like that it hasn't happened, but it's the way it's gone this year. So thanks with Charlie and Giles for coming on, because without them, they've got the paddling knowledge. Everyone give a round of applause. Come on, Jake, give a round of applause. There we go. To them. Even Charlie's giving a round. I like it. So yeah, they're the canoeists. Also, Kevin's a massive canoeing and paddling. Just say paddler. It's easier.
Paddling god.
Paddling god. Don't say that. He's Edwin. He's watching you now. He's watching you now.
Oh. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for all you've taught me.
So yeah, Kevin's a massive. Linda is a extremely massive, knowledgeable person where it comes down to canoeing. So ask about. Not everyone in the DofE team are paddlers. I know he likes his feet on terra firma. I kind of do the paddling if I have to.
I remember Henley.
Yep. But on that note, guys, we don't talk about Henley. On that note, guys, we hope you stay safe, keep well, and we'll see you next week. Good night.